So this is the second game I made. It's called Pact. I made it about 8 months after my first game, Shadowless, but I had taken like a 6-month hiatus where I hadn't programmed or done anything at all, so I pretty much forgot almost everything I knew. The only reason I decided to get back into programming was because I saw this competition being hosted by RPG Maker, where it was called the Indie Game Maker competition, and it was like a $10,000 prize. So I thought, wow, yeah, $10,000, I wouldn't mind having that. So I ended up buying RPG Maker off the Humble Bundle for a couple bucks. Tried it out, messed around with it. I found out pretty fast you can't really do anything except make an RPG, a generic JRPG. And I didn't really like that because I didn't want to make one of those. So I ended up going back to Unity because there's just so much more I could do. And I thought around like, what kind of game could I make for this competition? And I decided to make sort of a ripoff of this Flash game I really liked called Talesworth Adventures. It's essentially, there's a character, and when you press go, it just runs down corridors, and as soon as it hits a wall, it turns and then runs until it's a wall and keeps turning. But there's obstacles and stuff they can run into and die, and walls and doors and switches and levers. And so you can affect where the character goes by placing like a bag of money down. So when the character sees that, they'll automatically turn and chase that, and different obstacles and ways you can influence where they go. And it's a pretty fun puzzle game. It's probably my favorite puzzle game at the time. So I decided to pay homage to it and make my own version with some twists. It took me forever to figure out how to actually program it. I found a tutorial on how to make it in Flash somebody had written up, and I had to learn how to actually translate that to C#. And I learned a lot about how to just learn the general gist of programming and not the technical things, so I could translate between languages like that, which is a very useful skill. Learned a lot on that side, just to the programming side. And then I finished making all the features, and then I made the art. I had a Wacom tablet. I just sort of messed around and made backgrounds and tiles and things, and it's okay. The character art I made with RPG Maker had some character creator tool, and so I used that to make the character. And then the music I got from the Humble Bundle is like an asset pack for RPG Maker, and then the UI came from this free asset on the Unity asset store. So altogether it's a pretty inconsistent art style. But something I learned with this was, once I started getting into making levels, I realized that a lot of the work and fun in making games is in the level design. When you program and you're making features and mechanics, you just create a list. It's like, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. And then you just program until it's done. But with level design, you have to be really creative and come up with ways to teach the player and showcase the mechanics, and come up with unique ways to let them express themselves with the mechanics. And that's really where that creativity and art comes into game design. So I had to learn how to do that. I didn't do the best, but I did okay. And that's where I first learned about how you have to do a difficulty curve, or gradually make things harder and harder as time goes on. I should have just lumped the tutorial and the main game together. I think it would have flowed better, because most people skip the tutorial. So I think it's better to just have a mandatory tutorial that doesn't get in the way than one that's voluntary but gets in the way. It's the first time I attempted some kind of story as well, and it's not that great. I've never been good at writing stories. Good stories in games are fun, but it's not something I prioritize. Overall, I made the game. I think it was fun. It was the first actually fun game I made, I think. Probably because it's not original. I ripped off a fun game. If you rip off a fun game, your game's probably going to be fun too. I didn't end up winning anything. I don't really know what happened with that competition. I think they didn't end up actually giving the prize money out until a year later or something, but I'm glad that they did it, because it did get me back into making games. And I did learn a bit, and I did learn that it's okay to rip off other games. If I did make it somewhat original, but it's okay to, we wouldn't have FESs if nobody ripped off Doom.